Hello and welcome to sunny Norfolk. We're here at Snetterton for round 10 of the Britcar Endurance Championship. An array of powerful GTs and supercars will be in action for another 90-minute race. They'll be joined by the Britcar Sports and Touring Car Trophy, who themselves have enjoyed a closely fought championship this year, as Chris Hartley explains.
Silverstone hosted the first round of the championship, where newcomers Ian Anderson and Amanda Black qualified fastest in class and an impressive 9th overall. Their Lifetime Racing Ginetta retaining the class lead and moving up to 7th overall in the early stages. The progress of Skid Carrera and Tony Shemmons was slowed when their Track Talk Seat suffered a left rear puncture coming onto the Hanger Straight. And things were worse still for Mike Moss Motorsport, their BMW suffering a smashed windscreen after the bonnet flipped up in the middle of the race. There was a retirement for the Land of Flames BMW of Will Arif and Emin Sadig, and disappointment for the father and son duo Peter and Mark Cunningham as they finished 20 laps down following technical problems. Having sorted their puncture, Track Talk Racing were chasing a class podium and perhaps not fully focused on the Ferrari that was trying to lap them. Despite everything, Shemmons and Carrera went on to finish second in class, ahead of another Seat, the Zest race car engineering machine of Robert Taylor and Graham Cox. But there was absolutely no stopping Anderson and Black as the two Caterham Racing champions won the class and finished 6th overall. Round 2 took us to Donington Park, where Barclay Dougall rocketed from 22nd to 7th place and the class lead. Running second in class was the Seat of Chris Hayes and Andy Thompson, but the Cunninghams were busy making their way through the field and quickly took that position away from the red and white Seat. Will Arif and Emin Sadig had a good race, coming from 23rd on the grid to finish 13th overall and taking 4th in class along the way. In the closing stages, the Cunninghams moved ahead of Barclay Dougall, but had to win by more than 5 seconds to make up for a time penalty. They just about did it, winning by 0.6 of a second. Next up, an overseas visit to the Grand Prix circuit of Spa in Belgium for a double-header. In race 1, despite being delayed by a rear suspension failure, Will Arif and Emin Sadig managed to finish 6th in class. Another puncture forced the Track Talk Seat, this time being driven by Andrew Gibbs and David Webb, into an unscheduled pit stop. But they recovered to finish 5th in class. The Zest race car engineering Seat of Robert Taylor and Graham Cox steered clear of trouble, eventually taking 4th in class, but it was the Cunninghams who went on to take their 2nd consecutive victory in the number 53 SG Racing Seat, with Hazen Thompson coming home 2nd and Jonathan and Rob Cullum completing the top 3. But there was to be no hat-trick for the Cunninghams as they got a puncture going through Eau Rouge in race 2 and the car was sent into the barriers. That left Chris Hayes and Andy Thompson to pick up their first class win of the season, with Gibbs and Webb finishing 2nd for Track Talk and Sadig and Arif picking up their first podium for Land of Flames Azerbaijan. It was back to England for round 5 and Alton Park, where we saw some new cars in action, including the Ariel Atom of Nick Holden, which finished 3rd in class. Normally contesting the shorter races of the new Britcar Trophy, Chris Valentine tried his hand at endurance racing and took his Porsche to 7th in class, while multiple Britcar Trophy winner James McIntyre-Ewer finished an impressive 2nd in class on his sports and touring car debut. But the win went to Mike Moss and Tom Howard, their first of the season, following a streak of bad luck, including a heavy shunt at Spa, where a sticking throttle cable was to blame. With 5 races and 4 different winners, the title race is very much alive as we come to Snetterton for round 6. The multiple drivers of Track Talk Racing have a 6-point lead in the standings from Sadig and Arif. The Cunninghams down to 5th after having to miss Alton due to their Spa crash.
Even though a 90-minute endurance race provides bags of opportunity for overtaking, it's always good to start at the front. Back to Chris for a roundup of qualifying.
Despite not having the most powerful car in the field, Emin Sadig and Will Arif took the Land of Flames Azerbaijan BMW to 6th in Class 4.
It's fun to drive, it is, but you can only drive it to a limit. Like all things, and I think we squeezed quite a bit out of it today. We knocked about another 2 seconds off from yesterday, so we just did a time and came in.
Back in action with their now repaired Seats were Peter and Mark Cunningham, qualifying 3rd in class despite 1 or 2 niggles.
The car's feeling quite good. We have just had a little issue in qualifying where it got very, very hot. So that puts into, I think it's just put it into a limp mode. So it does look like we could be a racing attrition this race. We're just trying to keep the temperatures under control. So I think it means we're going to have to not run at 110%, but you've got to be in it to win it, really. So I think if we can just be there at the end, you never know what's going to go on. So just nurse it through.
Second quickest in the sports and touring car division were Alton Park winners Mike Moss and Tom Howard in their BMW M3 E46. They were pipped to class pole by Ian Anderson and Amanda Black, the two Caterham Racing champions in action for the first time since their Silverstone victory.
Having done sprint races in Caterhams that are 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's nice now to jump into something different and have a go at doing something in the GT cars, and also it's something Ian and I can do together rather than race against each other. So a bit of a team event now.
In the Britcar Endurance Championship, the third fastest time in Class 3 went to Jensen Lund and Alistair Lindsay in their new Ginetta G55. The Intersport BMW of Kevin Clark and Anna Walewska took the class win in the first race of the weekend here at Snetterton, but in qualifying had to settle for second behind Zoe Wenham and Stephen Fressel. Class 3 pole for the Century Motorsport Ginetta. Fastest in Class 2, Callum Lockie, who had been the outright winner of race 1.
I look at what I'm doing in every corner, every part of every corner, every lap, just to try and compare it to get against the theory and against what I can on the predictive timing. That's running the whole time, so I can see if I've gone ahead of my best or if I'm slightly behind my best or whatever. So I tend to look at that pretty well all the time. I'm not going to pace myself. I'm going to go flat out again. I'll do every lap as fast as I can make it go, because that's the way to get the best result. So I'll do another hour and a half of qualifying laps.
Just ahead of Callum Lockie and starting fourth on the grid would be Mike Millard in his Rapier SR2, desperate for a good result following a string of non-finishes. Third quickest, Darren Nelson and Nigel Greensall in the Carnell Racing Ferrari 458, now upgraded to a Class 1 car following the first race of the weekend. Nathan Freak put the Start Racing Ginetta onto the front row, but the ex-Formula 4 champion couldn't live with the time set by Javier Morcillo in the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler.
We did our best ever lap time at Snetterton, so we're really happy. The car has been, as you know, totally rebuilt since the accident, and it's always a worry that the car is never the same. But apparently it is, and it's actually better, so we're really happy.
A sixth pole of the year then for Javier Morcillo and Manuel Cintrano, 1.3 seconds quicker than Nathan Freak in the Ginetta. The Carnell Racing Ferrari and the Roxy Jewelers Rapier on row 2 with Callum Lockie and Johnny McGregor on row 3. We're on board then with Nathan Freak from the outside of row 1, ready for the rolling start here at Snetterton. A 90-minute race about to get underway. They climb up the centre straight towards the first corner at Riches. There is the blue Ginetta, and around the outside he goes to get straight into the lead. In fact, the pole sitter, Manuel Cintrano, has lost 2 more places. He's down to 4th position in the Mosler as you ride on board with the Ferrari of Darren Nelson, about to lose a position there to the yellow Ultima of Johnny McGregor, which makes a good start and gets up to 5th place. There you got the number 57, Mike Moss, BMW, trying to pick up a position here on Stephen Fressel. Stephen with the onboard camera has to concede there, so the class pole sitting car losing a position, but with the very quick Zoe Wenham to get into the car later on. So it's Nathan Freak then leading the way from second on the grid in the Ginetta. Mike Millard's up to second. Callum Lockie, winner of the first race of the weekend, in third position. As Stephen Fressel loses it coming out of Agostini into a spin. A couple of cars have to take evasive action, including Guillaume Gruchet in the Porsche, but nobody makes contact with the Ginetta and he'll get back going again. Through then go the top 3. There's the pole sitter Manuel Cintrano in 4th, Johnny McGregor in 5th, 6th place then to Darren Nelson, and 7th is Ian Anderson leading Class 4. We go on board with Nick Jarvis in the Track Talk Seat. He has a go at the inside of Emin Sading, and up ahead that's Robert Taylor having a spin in the Zest Race Car Engineering Seat. That was on the way through Hamilton. At the end of the Bentley Straight, though, coming up towards the completion of lap number 1, there is the race leader heading towards the bomb hole now, Nathan Freak, having a super start to the race. Nobody in front of him this time, the first race of the weekend. He was staring at the back of the Ferrari of Callum Lockie for most of the race. Stephen Fressel's got going from his spin now, as we saw the recovering Seat there of Robert Taylor trying to rejoin halfway around the lap. There is the Cunningham Seat, which has had a good start to the race as well. Mark Cunningham driving the first stint before Dad gets in for the second portion of the race. Through then go our top 4. Manuel Cintrano, who had a very strong drive in the first race of the weekend, coming home in 4th position. And you can see there that Mike Millard in the Rapier, the number 8 car, hanging onto the tail of the leader. There's Callum Lockie in 3rd position. He and Nathan Freak both driving solo this time. Here's Alistair Lindsay on board with him as Guillaume Gruchet, and the more powerful Class 2 car comes through. The Ginetta that you ride on board with coming from Class 3. Then towards Agostini on the brakes and turning left using the full Snetterton 300 circuit then. Our race leader still only a few tenths clear of Mike Millard. Clear track ahead on the way to this tight left-hander at Hamilton, and then squeezing the way through Williams and Oggies. There is the Class 4 leader leading the sports and touring car division in 7th place overall, Ian Anderson. And then about 2 seconds behind is the V10 BMW driven at the moment by Mike Moss. Here we've got the number 79 Seat, driven by Andy Thompson, and number 44, the BMW, trying to chase him down. That's Robert Day. Those two missed the first race of the weekend, but the BMW was starting to make progress. Darren Nelson then, in this new for the team Ferrari, being run by FF Course, the same team which run Callum Nockey, who's currently up there in the top 3. Going under the bridge then at the end of this 900-metre long straight on the way through the S-bend section. The left through Brundle, the right through Nelson. There is number 43, Anna Walewska, and Kevin Clark winning their class in the first race of the weekend here at Snetterton, but not leading it yet in this race. Back with Stephen Fressel in the Ginetta after his earlier spin. Closing up now to the tail of the Track Talk Seat and powering past Nick Jarvis. Nick, who's had very little time in the car so far this weekend, conceding a place on the run down the Bentley Straight. We've still got our top 2 together, although the gap has just crept out a little bit from first to second, only by a tenth or so. Both pulling away from third place. Third place car being in a different class, Class 2. There is Emin Sading in the BMW up ahead. That's the next target for Stephen Fressel, trying to recover from the earlier spin. And there is the gap, as you can see it, from first to second as they go through to the Montreal hairpin. On board then with Darren Nelson. That was a move there from him to get past Johnny McGregor, who had a little slip going through Riches, but a wheel on the grass, and the Ferrari there you saw coming through. And it didn't take a second invitation for Darren to pick up that place, so he gains one back. There is Emin Sading in the number 66 BMW, the Azerbaijani racer, being hunted down by Stephen Fressel in the recovering Ginetta, and Stephen's got a good run through Riches. He's looking at the inside here on the way into Montreal. Is there a gap? No, very good on the brakes there from Emin Sading. It doesn't let him through, but on the way out of the corner, surely the Ginetta will come through. Now he's on the outside line for the left-hander at Palmer. He's just about got his nose in front. He's going to have to be brave. Through he goes, and he picks up the place. Now, lots of tussles all the way through the order, but at the head of the field, it's Nathan Freak, who is starting to just creep away now from Mike Millard in second place and leading Class 2 and running third overall is Callum Lockett.
It's time for us to take a short break now, but there's plenty more action still to come, both on track and in the pits. Join us back here at Snetterton in a few minutes' time. Hello and welcome back to Snetterton for round 10 of the Britcar Endurance Championship. Before the break, we saw the opening stages of the race. Over to our commentator Chris Hartley for more race highlights.
It's the 10th race of the season, and it is being led by the Ginetta of Start Racing, driven by Nathan Freak. There in second place, the winner of the very first round of the championship, Mike Millard there in the Roxy Jewelers backed Rapier. Callum Lockett, the winner of the first race of the weekend here at Snetterton, running in third place. On board with Alistair Lindsay. He's gone round. He's lost the back end. That's at Agostini. He's kept the engine running, but he'll have to wait until a couple of cars come through before he can rejoin. So a spin there in the new Ginetta G55 for Alistair. Had this big crash at Alton Park in the Chevron, writing the Chevron off. There is the car which started on pole position, Manuel Centrano, still doing a good job there in fourth place with the super quick Javier Murcio to get in for the second stint. Darren Nelson lost a few places at the start, but he got one back when he got ahead of this car, the Ultima of Johnny McGregor, which just ran a little bit wide through Rich's corner a couple of laps ago and gave the place back to the Ferrari driver. Stephen Fressel had a spin on the very first lap of the race. He's trying to hunt down now the number 44. Oh, he's lost the back end coming out through onto the Bentley Straight. He's about to try and close in on Robert Day in the number 44 BMW. He very neatly gets the car back on the road, but the novice driver just making a mistake there on the way onto the Bentley Straight. Catches it though, but his second spin loses him more time. Ian Anderson continuing there to lead Class 4 in his Ginetta. Back on board with Stephen Fressel, recovering from this spin on the way into the right-hander at Nelson. He goes, he slips a bit wide, the back end goes out again, and it's another spin on the same lap. Keeps the engine running, he'll get it back on, but maybe the tyres are a bit dirty from the earlier spin. And there's another couple of places that he will lose. Screech of tyres. Oh, it's Mike Millard from inside the top three. So the second place car spins out. That is coming on to the Bentley Straight. So there is the Ferrari of Callum Lockett, which now will inherit second place. Mark Cunningham continuing to run in the top three in Class 4, but being hunted down by Guillaume Gruchet, who runs in the top three in the championship. There he is in the Class 2 Porsche. Well, having lost a couple of minutes with the spin going onto the Bentley Straight, Mike Millard has recovered, got the car going again. Long, long way though behind this man now, the race leader, who he was staying on the tail of the first few laps of the race. There is the Ultima of Johnny McGregor, a car we didn't think we'd see again this season, but there is some smoke coming out of the back of the car now, which is running in 6th place, and there's a car that's stopped out on the track. That's number 44, Robert Day. Here, though, is the view back from Johnny McGregor. It looks like the Ultima headed for retirement.
Well, again, we're going quite well, and the engine oil pressure dropped out on the dash readout, so I was obviously getting warnings up. Did a couple of laps and didn't get any better. I'm surprised that it lasted a couple of laps, so we just thought we'd better come in the pits and try and keep costs down if we do have a problem. It might just be a cheap sensor, but we don't know.
You're looking at the battle for 11th place, number 79, the Class 4 Westlake Seat of Andy Thompson, being reeled in now by Alistair Lindsay in his Class 3 Ginetta, recovering from that earlier spin. There is the Porsche of Guillaume Gruchet, and there is number 8, Mike Millard, recovering from his own spin and about to gain a place back here at the inside on the way into Coram Curve. The Rapier going through. You're on board with Stephen Fressel's had a couple of moments in this race, so he's on the recovery march and he's about to power past Robert Taylor, who also had a spin earlier on in the Seat. Through he goes down the Bentley Straight, and he gets the place on the way into the left-hander at Brundle already. Then the Ginetta starting to edge away from the Seat. Smoky brakes there for number 44. That is the Paul Phipps Robert Day BMW, which has got back on the road again now, but maybe all not well with that car after it stopped a little while ago. There then is number 27, Darren Nelson in the Ferrari, onto the tail now of the Mosler of Manuel Centrano. This is for 3rd place in the race then, and I look down the inside on the way to Montreal. That's got to be a move. He stops the car just about, but he was very late on the brakes there, Darren, and the Carnell Racing driver gets up into 3rd place ahead of the pole-sitting Mosler. Into the pit window then, and a driver change for the Ferrari. Darren Nelson getting out for Nigel Greenstall, Valevska getting out of the number 43 car, the BMW to be taken over by Kevin Clark, and a change as well for the Seat. But out of the race now permanently, I'm afraid, is the number 44 BMW.
The first driver, Robert, had problems, and I thought he was making a fuss, but when we'd fiddle around with the brake fluid, it would appear that there's a mixture of brake fluid which is wrong, and it's boiling. And so I went out there, it's perfectly okay, and then exactly the same thing at the end of the long straight, the brakes went, you end up sort of panicking, pumping the brakes like mad, going sideways, and so that was it, straight in. And so we both had exactly the same experience, so that's motor racing.
Here is the race leader then. Nathan Freak comes in to make his pit stop for Start Racing. The Mosler is stuck in the pits. It's been in for a while. It's got a problem, and it looks like, I'm afraid, it might be out of the race. Still doing very well, though. Leading Class 4 is the Lifetime Racing Ginetta.
Had a good qualifying session. Really pleased with how the car went. Lifetime Racing have done an excellent job yet again getting the car prepared. So yeah, it's been fairly straightforward so far, but we're running a few problems now. We think we've lost 5th gear. 5th gear's playing up, and we've got brake knockback. So yeah, we've got 1 or 2 issues we're trying to drive around at the moment, but yeah, hopefully we can get to the end of the race.
Making good progress, the BMW of Mike Moss Motorsport. Tom Howard now in the car, and they're currently running 2nd in Class 4.
We've put a lot of hard work into the car, and the guys have obviously done a stellar job building a extremely quick car for this season. We had a little bit of teething trouble at the start, which we've got over. Last race really good, obviously a bit of a funny one with all the accidents, but really well. And this weekend, yeah, fantastic as well. Got Tom in the car, he's obviously a little bit quicker, so obviously doing a little bit of a short stint gives us that edge to obviously try and catch the next guy in front, so yeah, good.
Into the final portion of the race, there is the leader, the blue Ginetta of Nathan Freak, and he's coming up to lap the Class 3 battle, and it's the battle for the class lead. So this could be a crucial stage of the race, as you're on board with Jensen Lund now into the number 29 Ginetta. Through goes the race leader, and just ahead is the BMW of Kevin Clark. That's the Class 3 leader. Under the ridge then, at the end of the Bentley Straight, down through the gear still. Bearing left through Brundle, a lock-up on the way into Nelson. For the BMW, Kevin Clark runs wide, and Jensen Lund goes through to pick up the Class 3 lead. What a story this will be if he and Alistair Lindsay can win this after what happened to them at Alton Park. There is the number 50 Ginetta, being driven at the moment by Amanda Black, and there is Tom Howard in the black and green BMW. This is for class leader as well. It's for the lead of the sports and touring car division, and through he goes. They're both about to be lapped by Callum Lockie Ferrari in 2nd place, but Tom Howard through into the Class 4 lead in the dying stages. So it's Nathan Freak leading handsomely from Callum Lockie. That car, Nigel Greenstall in 3rd place. And there is Mike Millard recovering from his earlier spin and the lengthy delay. There he is running in 4th position now. And there's been a moment there for Amanda Black where he had news of 1 or 2 problems with the brakes on that car. He has slipped wide, but I don't think he's lost a position. Still running there up in the top 6 and still second in class. But there is the Class 4 leader, Tom Howard, and he's got a puncture. The front left. The tyre's still on, but it's completely deflated, and that might mean the Ginetta's going to come through. There's a very smoky Kevin Clark, second in Class 3 in his BMW, but it's been a good weekend for him and his teammate, Anna Walewska. But there is Jensen Lunn on his way to a Class 3 victory. There is the Ferrari of Callum Lockie. He's not going to win outright, but he's on for a class victory as well. Here, though, is the checkered flag and our race winner. It's the first time that Start Racing have won this season. It's the first win for Ginetta, and it's the first win of the season for Nathan Freak. Terrific stuff then here from Snetterton. Nathan Freak winning by nearly a minute and a half from Callum Lockie. Nelson and Greensall come home third. Mike Millard in fourth, and the winner of the Sports and Touring Car Division, Anderson and Black. So for the points, Mason and Lockie extend their championship lead over Mortheo and Cintrano after that DNF.
First race was pretty hard, and like Callum said, it was qualifying lap every single lap, so mentally and physically it was very, very draining. But that one, textbook start, got away in the lead and just kept my head down, kept my nose clean, and the last 20 minutes cruised around, so sort of not so sweaty this time, a bit cooler.
The only way I was going to beat the Ginetta was if I could get it ahead of it and then hold it up a little bit, and I couldn't because he was on the front row. But I'm very happy. P2 overall and P1 in class. That's a great result for me and David for the weekend with the win previously, so really chuffed.
Alistair had a cracking first session, handed the car to me and just had one car to catch, which I managed to do and pass. Yeah, brilliant, absolutely ecstatic. So
can't describe it at all, literally. It's just so proud of everybody, the whole team. Jensen for being my anchor man there and doing it, and it's just Jensen's birthday today, so what a birthday present to win, but absolutely amazing. So lots of good things to come, hopefully.
Quite a few issues throughout the race, including losing fifth and having some brake problems. So when I got in the car, we'd heard over the radio that Ian was reporting things, and as soon as I went out, I sort of radioed back just saying, yep, we've not really got very many brakes here, guys.
I think we had a cracking weekend. Lifetime Racing done an excellent job, as they always do, so really pleased with what the team have done in terms of car preparation and everything that they do in terms of support. So yeah, it's been an unbelievably successful weekend despite the problems. So yeah, both going away very happy tonight, I think.
Well, that wraps up our coverage here from Snetterton. Just 2 more events and 4 more races remain on the calendar. Next time, a hugely important weekend awaits at Silverstone Grand Prix. We'll see you then.